Picture this. It's a regular Tuesday morning, you're heading to work just like any other day, and then your phone rings. It's your landlord, your car mechanic, or your doctor, and what they say next turns your entire world upside down. Your car just broke down, and the repair bill is $1,400, or your landlord says the boiler needs replacing, and your share of the cost is $900. Or maybe you just got laid off, and your last paycheck is 3 weeks away. Now here's the question, and I want you to really sit with this for a second. What would you actually do? Would you calmly open your bank app, transfer the money, and move on with your day? Or would your stomach drop, your hands start shaking, and your brain go into full panic mode? If that second scenario hits a little too close to home, you are not alone. And today's video is specifically made for you. Because today, we are talking about the single most important financial safety net that most people either don't have, don't fully understand, or have gotten completely wrong. We're talking about the emergency fund, what it really is, why it matters more than almost any other financial move you can make right now, and exactly how to build one, even if you're living paycheck to paycheck. Let's start with some numbers, and these might genuinely shock you. According to a 2023 Federal Reserve survey of American households, nearly 37% of adults said they would not be able to cover a $400 unexpected expense with cash or its equivalent. Think about that. More than 1 in 3 Americans in one of the wealthiest countries in the world cannot handle a $400 emergency without borrowing money or selling something. Now I know what you might be thinking, well, that's Americans, my situation is different. But here's the thing, surveys across the UK, Canada, Australia, and across Europe show remarkably similar patterns. A 2022 report from the Money and Pension Service in the UK found that around 11.5 million people had less than £100 in savings. That's less than the cost of a nice dinner for two. And in Turkey, where a large portion of our audience is watching from, the situation is even more challenging, especially given the inflation pressures of recent years. So this is not a personal failure, this is a systemic, widespread reality. But here's what makes it dangerous. Life does not care about your financial situation when it decides to throw something at you. Cars break down regardless of your bank balance. Medical emergencies don't check your savings account first, and job losses, as millions of people learned during the pandemic, can happen to literally anyone. So here's the uncomfortable truth. Without an emergency fund, you are one bad day away from financial disaster. And financial disaster has a way of turning into emotional disaster, relationship disaster, and health disaster really, really fast. Okay, so let's define our terms properly, because I've seen a lot of confusion about this. An emergency fund is not your vacation fund. It is not money you set aside to buy a new phone when your old one breaks. It is not your investment portfolio. An emergency fund is a dedicated, separate, liquid pool of money that exists for one purpose and one purpose only, to protect you from life's genuine, unexpected emergencies. And I want to highlight 2 words there, separate and liquid. Separate means it's not mixed in with your day-to-day checking account. Why? Because if it's in the same account as your grocery money, it will disappear. Human psychology, specifically something called mental accounting, means we spend what's available. Liquid means you can access it quickly, ideally within 24 to 48 hours without penalty. This is why your emergency fund should not be in the stock market, not in crypto, not in a locked-in fixed deposit that charges you to withdraw early. Now, what counts as a genuine emergency? I think it's useful to have a clear definition here. An emergency is an unexpected, necessary, and urgent expense. Let me break that down. Unexpected, you didn't plan for it. Necessary, not having the money creates real harm. And urgent, you can't delay it for several months. So a car repair that means you can't get to work, that's an emergency. A surprise birthday gift for a friend, that's not an emergency, that's poor planning. Your heating system breaking down in February? Emergency. Your phone getting a scratch and you want to upgrade? Not an emergency. This is where most financial advice gets a bit lazy, and I want to do better than that for you. The standard advice you'll hear is save 3 to 6 months of expenses, and that's not wrong, but it's also not the full picture. Because 3 to 6 months for whom? Someone who is single with no dependents and a very stable job in a field with high demand, or someone who is the sole breadwinner for a family of 4 with a mortgage working in a volatile industry? These are completely different situations, and they require completely different emergency fund targets. Let me give you a framework that actually makes sense. First, calculate your monthly essential expenses. Not everything you spend, just the things that if you stopped paying them would cause real immediate harm. That means rent or mortgage, utilities, food to transportation to work, minimum debt payments, and any essential insurance. Let's say that number is $2,500 a month. That's your baseline. Now, if you're single, have a stable salaried job, have marketable skills, and no dependents, the 3-month mark might be a reasonable starting point. That's $7,500. But if you're self-employed or freelance, have dependents, work in a volatile industry, have health conditions, or have a mortgage, you should be targeting 6 to 12 months. That's $15,000 to $30,000. Now, you might be thinking, there is absolutely no way I can save $15,000 right now, and that's okay. I'm not asking you to do it overnight. What I am asking you to do is start with a starter emergency fund. Most financial experts, including Dave Ramsey and the broader personal finance community, suggest starting with a $1,000 mini emergency fund while you're also paying off debt. Why $1,000? Because that amount covers the vast majority of single unexpected expenses, a car repair, a medical copay, a home appliance replacement. It won't cover everything, but it covers enough to stop you from going into debt every time life happens. Think of it like this. Imagine driving on a highway with no spare tire in your car. One flat tire doesn't just ruin your day, it could potentially cause an accident. A $1,000 emergency fund is your spare tire. It's not everything, but it keeps you moving.
Here's where I want to shift the conversation, because most financial videos focus exclusively on the math, but the math is only half the story. The truth is, having an emergency fund doesn't just change your numbers, it fundamentally changes how you think, how you make decisions, and how you live your life. There's a concept in behavioral economics called scarcity mindset, studied extensively by Harvard economist Sendhil Mullainathan and Princeton psychologist Eldar Shafir. Their research shows that when people are operating in financial scarcity, it literally consumes cognitive bandwidth. In other words, when you're constantly worried about money, you have less mental capacity for everything else. Your IQ effectively drops when you're stressed about paying bills. You make worse decisions, are more impulsive, and struggle to think long-term. Now flip that. Imagine knowing that you have 3 months of expenses sitting in a dedicated savings account. Let's say $7,500 is sitting there, doing nothing, just waiting. That knowledge alone changes how you walk into your boss's office when you're unhappy with your treatment. It changes how you negotiate your salary. It changes whether you're willing to take a career risk and pursue something that actually matters to you. Researchers call this optionality. Having a financial cushion gives you options, and options in life, in career, in relationships are incredibly valuable. Here's a story that I think illustrates this perfectly. Think about 2 people in the same toxic work environment. Person A has no emergency fund, has credit card debt, and lives paycheck to paycheck. Person B has a $10,000 emergency fund. Their boss starts treating them both badly. Person A feels trapped. They can't quit because they can't miss even one paycheck. So they stay, they suffer, and over time that stress damages their health, their self-esteem, and their relationships. Person B, they feel the same frustration, but they also feel something person A can't feel: freedom. They know that if things get bad enough, they can walk away. They can take 2 or 3 months to find something better. Often, just having that option means they never actually have to use it, because the confidence that comes from financial security changes how they carry themselves, how they communicate, how they show up at work. That's the real value of an emergency fund.
It's not just about paying for car repairs, it's about reclaiming your agency over your own life.
All right, so you're convinced you need an emergency fund. Great, but now the question is, where exactly should you keep it? And this is where a lot of people either get it wrong or miss out on a significant opportunity. Option 1, and the worst choice, is to keep it in your regular checking account. As I mentioned before, if it's sitting there with your daily spending money, it will disappear. It's just human nature. Option 2, slightly better but still not ideal, is a regular savings account at your main bank. Why is this not ideal? Because most traditional savings accounts offer laughably low interest rates. We're talking 0.01% to 0.1% in many countries. That means inflation is actively eating your emergency fund. Option 3, and this is what I recommend, is a high-yield savings account, or HYSA. In the United States, as of mid-2024, the best high-yield savings accounts were offering between 4.5% and 5.5% APY. For a $10,000 emergency fund, that's $450 to $550 in interest per year for doing absolutely nothing. In the UK, many easy-access savings accounts now offer above 4% as well. In Europe and other markets, the options vary, so do your research for your specific country. The key features you want in your emergency fund account: high interest rate, easy access within 24 to 48 hours, no fees, and ideally at a separate institution from your main bank so it's slightly inconvenient to transfer, just enough friction to prevent impulse spending. A word on what not to do: don't keep your emergency fund in the stock market. I know, the returns are better, but the stock market can drop 30 to 40% in a recession, and recessions are exactly when job losses happen, meaning you'd be selling at the worst possible time. Don't keep it in cryptocurrency. Volatility in crypto can be extreme. Your $10,000 could become $3,000 in a few weeks. Don't keep it in physical cash at home. Inflation, theft risk, and the temptation to spend it are all real concerns. The emergency fund's job is not to grow your wealth. Its job is to be there reliably when you need it. Preserve capital, stay liquid, earn a fair rate.
Okay, let's get tactical, because knowing you need an emergency fund and actually building one are two very different things. Step 1, figure out your current cash flow. For the next 30 days, I want you to track every single dollar, or lira, or euro that comes in and goes out. Use an app, a spreadsheet, or even a notebook. Just track it. Most people are genuinely shocked by what they find. The average American spends about $233 per month on subscriptions alone, many of which they've completely forgotten about. Step 2, identify your bleeding points. These are expenses that are quietly draining your account without providing you with proportional value. The gym membership you haven't used since January, the 3 streaming services when you only watch one, the daily coffee shop visit that's costing you $120 a month. I'm not here to tell you to never buy coffee again. That's not real financial advice. But I am saying, make conscious choices. Choose what you value. Cut what you don't. Step 3. Automate your emergency fund savings. This is the single most powerful thing you can do. Set up an automatic transfer, even if it's just $50 a week, to your emergency fund account, timed to go out the day after you receive your paycheck. Why? Because you can't spend money you never see. If the transfer happens automatically, you adapt your spending to what's left. It's effortless saving. Step 4. Consider a one-time boost. Do you have items around your home that you haven't used in a year? Sell them. Do you have a skill that you could monetize for a few weeks? Tutoring, graphic design, translation, coding, cooking. Even $500 extra added to your emergency fund is meaningful progress. Step 5. Protect it. Once you start building your emergency fund, you need to define clearly for yourself what constitutes an emergency. Write it down if you have to, and revisit your fund balance every 3 months to make sure it still aligns with your current monthly expenses. Because your life changes, a $5,000 emergency fund might have been adequate 2 years ago when you were single, but if you now have a child or a mortgage or health conditions to manage, your target needs to go up.
Here's what I want you to take away from today's video. An emergency fund is not a luxury for people who are already wealthy. It is the foundation upon which all other financial progress is built. You cannot effectively invest when you're one car repair away from going into debt. You cannot negotiate your salary confidently when you have zero financial runway. You cannot make brave, life-improving decisions when fear is running the show. The emergency fund is what breaks that cycle. It's the difference between reacting to life and actually living it on your own terms. So here's your challenge for today. And I mean today, not next week, not next month. Open a separate savings account. If you're in the US, look up High Yield Savings Account. Marcus by Goldman Sachs, Ally Bank, and SoFi are all great options. If you're in the UK, check Money Saving Experts Savings Comparison. If you're in Turkey, look at the best interest-bearing accounts available to you right now. And transfer whatever you can today, even if it's $20, even if it's $50, because starting is what matters. Write the target number in your Notes app, set a monthly reminder to check your progress, and remind yourself every time you transfer money, you are not just saving money, you are buying freedom. If this video gave you value, please consider hitting the like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people who need to hear exactly this message. And subscribe if you want more content that takes money seriously but keeps it human. See you in the next one.